Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Ken. I'm back with another video. Today, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be showing you guys my favorite EQ plugins for 2024. I did a video similar to this last year, and this is something that I want to do probably at the end of every year. Show you guys what my favorite plugins were for the year, what I've been using, because over time I start to use new things and learn new plugins. So let's get into it. First plugin has to be the Vice EQ1. This thing is transparent, it's powerful, it's parametric EQ, and then if you go to advanced, you could turn it into a dynamic EQ where you can control the attack, release, ratio, threshold, all that. Overall, it's a very, very, very good EQ for mixing and mastering. You'll notice when you use this, if you really push it, it'll sound good. And then even for mastering, when you're doing smaller adjustments, it's really good. It has a mid-side mode as well, so when you put it in mid-side, channel 1 becomes the mid, channel 2 becomes sides. This button right here basically is a link button. That's pretty much what it is. And then you have linear phase mode. If you do linear phase mode, though, you can't use the dynamic section, I'm pretty sure. And then you can go back to dynamic mode. So that's pretty much this EQ. You have dithering, you have peak reset, dynamic latency. I don't really mess with these settings too much, but this is definitely one of my favorite parametric EQs out there. Very good. I'm gonna make my face cam a little smaller. One thing about this plugin is that it's very good for mixing and very good for mastering. One day I would really hope to own one of these units in real life, the hardware version. It's 5 bands. You got a high frequency band, then you got mid-high frequencies, mids, lower mids, and then low frequencies. The thing that I like though is that, for example, this can go up to 24K, right? And then the high mids can go, still it goes up to 10K. So it has a lot of range. Like, think about it. This high mids goes all the way down to 300 and then to 10K. So even though it's labeled high mids, it can still go really high. Then even the mids goes up to 4100, and it ranges all the way down to 128, that's a lot of range. The lower mids goes from 33 hertz to 1000 hertz. Still so much range. And then the low frequency bass side goes from 10 hertz to 330. So something that I usually do for mastering is I tend to put this all the way up to like 24, anywhere from 20 to 24. Give it a little bit of air. Play with the Q. And you have your Q setting, obviously. You got to always play around with this to see where it's going to fit. But yeah, I'll put it on like 24K, and then the high mids, I'll even still go to like 8K or 10K, give it a tiny bit more. You don't want to go too crazy with this plugin because it can get out of hand pretty quick. But I will say, though, the high end definitely sounds good with this plugin. I can't even imagine what the hardware would sound like. And then for this mid band, I like to give it a little boost at like 1K, 1.2, 1.3K sometimes. It really just depends on the song, but the mids, sometimes I duck if there's too much of a certain area or too much buildup. But it depends. And then the bass, you got to always play around with the bass because even when you're going to like 40 or like 50, you can add a decent amount of sub, which is good. And then going to the bottom of the plugin, it has some basic controls. You got your input gain to gain stage. You got a high pass filter, and then the other filter as well. You got high pass, low pass filters. And then you got a mid-side button, channel link, auto listen, which basically, I'm not 100% sure how this works, but I'm pretty sure the auto listen will automatically bypass and enable the plugin so you can try to hear if you're making a difference. Which is with that, that's a cool feature to have. You have this that enables the whole thing. Distortion, THD, mono maker, and you got stereo width too. You got some more filters. They're linked. And then output gain. So you have a decent amount of features even on the bottom. But overall, this is a really good EQ. You got different modes too. You know, red if you want to do black, all black. When it comes to color, it's like I feel like personally, in my opinion, it's a little bit colored. So this is an EQ that like you have to use, and you might end up comparing it with another EQ and trying to go back and forth deciding which one fits the material you're working on. It's more often gonna work for what you're working on than it's not gonna work. So yeah, this is a really good plugin. I've been using this all year. I've started using it this year, which I'm pretty surprised about. I'm surprised I've never used this before. But yeah, this is the second EQ plugin on my list. The next plugin that I have on my list is the Manly Massive Passive Mastering Edition. This plugin I use pretty much on every project. And when it comes to mastering, I do sometimes go back and forth trying to decide if I'd rather use this plugin or the previous one, the SPO. So this doesn't always work for me on mastering, I will say. But overall, though, it's a very good EQ. I usually like giving a boost to the high end on most things. And then it's also really good for cutting the mids. Basically, whenever I mix vocals with it, I usually give a boost to the high end at around 3 to 5, put it on a shelf. And then sometimes I'll put it on bell, boost a little bit more in a certain range that fits, and then take out some of the lows. But this is something that like if you push all the way, it'll definitely be too much. But it is, especially because this is the mastering edition, it's good for making small adjustments. I don't really use this for bass though. I will say I tend to not add bass to material with this plugin. I'd rather use another EQ or even that SPL. But yeah, I love this plugin. It also has a low pass filter, high pass filter, gain. It's something that I've been using even before 2024, and I've been using it all year. I love it. The next plugin that I have on my list is going to have to be the FabFilter Pro Q4. Now, if I had made this video a little bit earlier in the beginning of December, I would have said the Pro Q3, but they just dropped the Pro Q4 this week. So I haven't really had too much time to fully check out all the new features, but for the most part, it's the same thing, just with some extra new features. Like you have this sketch mode where you can just draw your EQ sketch by holding down the mouse button, clicking and holding. And then it also has this new spectral feature where not only can you make it dynamic, but you can make it spectral. It just kind of looks like Soothe when you're looking at the analyzer. It's doing something different, but that's pretty much like the way I can explain it. And don't get me wrong, it's not Soothe. It's not doing the same thing as Soothe. Maybe more like Spiff, if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't made a video on this yet. I might make a review going over all the features, but there's definitely plenty of videos now going over this plugin. The cool thing about this plugin now too is that when you make it dynamic, you can actually control the attack and release of the band. And it's cool because you could do it obviously for multiple bands, control the attack and release for all these, which is really nice. And then obviously you can switch it from band. Like if I go to this band, right, I'll get rid of this one. I'll get rid of that one. If I go to this band, I could change it from band to free. So now I can select what range I want to trigger this band. I could do like the lows or even the highs, which could be good for de-essing. That's something really good. I think they had that in Pro Q3, but it's just nice to have. And then another cool thing about this plugin is now, like let's say you have a bunch of tracks, right? So I'm going to duplicate this track twice. I'm going to have 3 instances of Pro Q4. Now, if I go to the bottom here, it'll show me all my instances of Pro Q4. And then if I want to click, let's say on the 3rd track, I can edit from this window. If I want to go to the 2nd one, I can edit from the window. It makes the workflow so much faster. That's a really cool feature. That's nice to have. And then another thing with this plugin too, I don't want to make this a whole video on Pro Q4, but they did The natural phase and linear phase got a bit of an upgrade, especially zero latency as well. And then you have options, new options here too: clean, subtle, and warm, which is something to play around with. But like I said, if you guys are interested, there's videos online checking out this plugin, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna wrap it up here though. I only really wanted to include 3 plugins because these are the plugins that I use the most. I really try to keep it simple, and like I said, the Vice plugin is very transparent, but it's powerful. The SPL and the Manly are a bit more colored, and you'll have to really decide which one fits what you're working with more. And then the Pro Q4, you just can't go wrong with it. It's so versatile, and you can use it pretty much on anything. So I feel like this was a good list of EQs that really work with most stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. And I'll probably make a compressor version of this video soon. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.